filters or something going on.
Whoa.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey.
Wow. Coming in with a bang.
That's how
Boom.
that's how you start. That's how you start.
That's how it starts. Doug's here.
I'm here.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. This is the very first Union Stories. So just a brief little, like, what is this about, right? So it's kind of like a Song of the Week kind of feature, deep dive. We kind of did this with our first album, but in that instance
Did we?
yeah.
I think it was more written.
Oh, it was written.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was written.
Yeah, so we went and posted
Is
each
it
of the
something I had
songs.
to read?
Something our wordsmith took
It was
care of
something Kevin wrote and
posted, and
Maybe-
we all read it and enjoyed it very much.
we did.
Maybe
We did.
some
I
of
took
us-
notes.
Maybe some of us brought our notes that I'm being teased about.
Not like
It's good to have notes.
It's 14 pages of notes, but it's not all for this. So,
I have
Oh,
It's
all
mostly-
the notes.
only 13 pages are for this.
well, we thought that last time around we wrote about each of the songs one at a time. This time around we would talk about it one at a time. So
That's what you're talking about.
last night we posted track 1 from our album. We linked it to the Bandcamp account. I don't know if I told you that that's the way I
Okay.
did that, but.
But you can also stream us on
I
all
was
major
gonna
streaming
say,
platforms.
Yeah, if Bandcamp was easy because everyone can get to it, but whatever your particular streaming service is, you can go listen to the song and have an idea of what we're talking about. So with all that ado, instead of further ado, I guess that's enough ado. Let's talk Jellybone Ghost.
Let's do it.
All right.
He said, dude.
So how do we dive into this? Where do we start?
We can start lyrically. We can start musically. It's obviously we start this is how we chose to start our album,
Right.
and
But interestingly enough, the song doesn't start at the beginning.
it does not.
It,
No.
It originally started at the beginning, but thanks to an awesome WWE theme song, I shook it up a little bit.
Doug, please elaborate.
So, spoiler alert, I'm a wrestling fan. So, in case you hadn't noticed, with every shirt I show up in, it's a wrestling shirt. But I was a big fan of the Bobby Roode when he was in NXT and used properly. But
Hi, Katie Poole.
that's not this isn't a wrestling podcast, so we won't go into that. But
We could.
but we'd probably lose people.
We'd lose at least one that I know of.
You might lose me for certain.
So
Hey, Lisa. Sorry. I'm saying hi to our friends. They're nice enough to tune in.
Hi, thank you for joining.
This is Doug and Kevin's wrestling podcast featuring. No.
No, don't believe
But
that.
for those who aren't familiar with Bobby
so,
Roode,
so Bobby Roode's theme song starts with a chorus that intros the song. It's a very large chorus. So what I did was I stripped down the chorus to Jellybone, and just for kicks and giggles, did a mix where the chorus of the song actually starts the song a cappella, and then shipped it off through Dropbox to Kevin and Jerry to see what they thought about it before it goes into the more of the Arcade Fire guitar intro.
we had actually played this song a lot, like back when we were practicing a lot more regularly together in the same room, and not just bouncing things back and forth. Jellybone was one of the songs that we would play quite often. We had never played it like that before, so when we get this mix and suddenly it starts with what in the past had been the middle and ending of the song, it's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, what has Doug done here? But it really worked.
Well, it's a great chorus. I mean, it's layered anyway, and it just sounds great. And to just punch with it to start off, I really liked it. And, it's a little nod to Bobby Roode. Seriously, go Google it, NXT theme. I think not the biggest WWE fan right now, but I think it traveled with him
It did.
in
Yeah,
the
he's
main
still-
roster call-up. I don't
You
know.
just
Again,
never see him on
yeah,
TV.
yeah, that's probably the problem there. But during his time in NXT, go Google it. Bobby Roode interest in NXT. You'll love it.
The outro actually was kind of a happy accident as well, because the large vocal coda at the end was something that one day as we were playing it, I started singing, and Jerry is really attuned to me and what I'm doing, so without missing a beat or practicing it, she just started with a so she just joined right in with me. And the music at the time that Doug had ended, and we weren't done with our outro, and we just continued singing. We knew that needed to be one more run through that coda, and we did it a cappella, and it ended up sounding so good that way that that sort of stuck, and ended up being the way that the ending of the song would go from that point onwards.
Try not to shake the table, guys, because then it's refocusing.
Oh. Are we focused?
Yeah, I think Doug's like pumped up on goofballs or something.
I did drink a Monster before we started, so I don't drink a lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
Someone else can help me answer this. I thought that we had a version of this that we had completed and put out online. This was pre-Facebook. It wasn't Bandcamp. What was the site that we used for a while? No, not MySpace. It wasn't SoundCloud, but it was Band something.
Oh, wait, was it Reverb Nation?
Reverb
Nation.
Nation.
We
had 4 or 5 songs that we actually had what we thought were completed.
Do we still have a Reverb Nation page?
Doug, don't squirrel away.
I went looking for it.
What? But did you already look? Do we have one?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't find it, but it might be out there.
That's what
I never
happens
shut
when
it
you get
down.
some caffeine.
But we had a version of this song that we had put. So for anyone that remembers, the pre-Facebook version was following us from way back. This song is actually older than the first album in that regard, and that there was a version out there a long time ago. Lyrically, if we talk music, we'll talk lyrically. For me, this was sort of an amalgam of Wilco for the verses is kind of what inspired me, and oddly enough, Futurama, the cartoon, for the chorus. I don't know if you knew that or not. You had to look like, what?
I didn't know the Wilco thing. I remember you telling me about the Futurama thing.
Well,
we apparently don't have one.
The original verses were, and this is a coincidence, it was actually written on Jerry's birthday. And in 2010, it was a song called Aware, not Jellybone Ghost. It had a completely different chorus. So these original verses from 2010 that I had wrote that were for the song Aware were inspired by Wilco. Particularly, I'm Trying to Break Your Heart. Up until that album that Wilco had done, Jeff Tweedy, the lead singer and lyricist, was kind of known as a storyteller, folksy Americana, and very detailed. And then here comes this album where it becomes less about the words having literal meaning and the way that they sound together. So it was like
American aquarium drinker.
That is exactly the line.
Okay.
I am an American aquarium drinker. I assassin down the avenue. I still do not know what an aquarium drinker is. I just know how good it sounds and how it makes me feel when I hear that. So that's what I wanted to do. Maybe not write so literally and go for something that, even if it was a bit more surrealistic, that it was more about the way the words sounded. So some of it might sound a little nonsensical as lyrically, but that's kind of where I got that inspiration for the verses. Now the chorus came a year later, when essentially Doug had the music and the words to my song Aware went with it until we got to the chorus. Yeah. And suddenly the chorus doesn't work. And I'm looking here at my original chorus for Aware, and it's actually not very good.
We knew this.
Hi, Mom.
Aware of...
Everybody stop for a second and say hi to Mom, because
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
She's always like,
no one ever says anything
how
to
are
her.
people are always saying hi to other people, and you never say hi to me?
Hi,
like, you're not
Gail.
watching it. Sorry.
So, yes, Jellybone Ghost. I wanted something that sounded very nonsensical to kind of go with some of the surrealistic verses. And there was an episode of Futurama, and I looked it up. I don't know this, off the top of my head. Futurama, for those that don't know, Matt Groening, who does The Simpsons, that was the lesser known of his cartoons. And the 26th and final episode of the show's 6th season, I knew that off the top of my head.
Sure, yeah.
The plot line is there are these gelatinous alien creatures that have no formal language. They communicate through body language. They can't speak. And so because they can't speak, they are hard to reason with because they have no verbal language. In the episode, they're angered by this comet that they worship as a god that is being destroyed, and they blame Earth. So they're going to attack us, and we have no way to reason with them and let them know. So that's the way of saying that the race of aliens had a name. I don't remember what the name was. It wasn't Jellybone Ghost. But at one point, the professor, who's one of the main characters on the show, is so frustrated and lamenting the fact that he can't communicate with these aliens. He says, if we can't communicate with these bone jelly ghosts, we're doomed. I like the way it sounded. It stuck in my head. I obviously misremembered it because he actually, when I looked it up, it says bone jelly ghost, but I got hooked up on Jellybone Ghost and thought, I like the idea of these creatures without form that, they just react by feeling. They can't communicate. But they just, it's how you feel, not how they sound. And I'm like, that's perfect for what I'm trying to go for in a song where the words mean less than the way that they sound together. So that's kind of where the Jellybone Ghost came from, which, obviously kind of an odd title. And that's not to say that the whole set of lyrics are completely nonsensical, because there are references in there to real life things and events. Particularly, there's a talk of an accident and going to the hospital, and that really was a reference to this guy. I'm sure did you not know that?
Because you mentioned talking to the tree.
Yes.
Talking to the tree, yeah.
So Doug and
Gene,
our friend, Jamie had a pretty serious car accident when they were teenagers, and that is referenced in the lyrics. And while there, at Logan General Hospital, there was this tree that we would often, it became kind of a hangout spot for us.
Tree.
Yeah. Creatively named tree.
And usually we'd go there to hang out because it's a small town. What do you want to do? It's a place to hang out. You can go park on the hospital lot and go hang out by the tree. I know it sounds, but it's true.
Or play tabletop role playing games.
Obviously, that night
we were very cool. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to hook up with these guys, and hang out. Like, those guys have it going on.
They hang out at the hospital and talk to trees, which I realized is, that night with the accident, it was a little different than hanging out at the trees. It was more of a, praying by the trees.
Giving prayers to the tree.
It was.
Like, yeah.
But and I thought, ironically, as it turns out, it's sort of the first mention on our album of trees sort of representing spiritual entities.
Yeah, look what we did there.
It's kind of a theme. I'm like, it wasn't intentional, but in this instance, the tree was, well, it saved you, right?
I'm here.
You're here, so it must have worked. But and then the other thing that I know for certain I can trace to an actual event is the idea of the Jellybone Ghost singing in the caverns of our soul. This was written shortly after our anniversary in 2011. We had just got back from Mammoth Caves, and I'm sure that the idea of caves and caverns was still in my head, and that is that's why the Jellybone Ghosts are singing in the caverns of my soul.
Gotcha.
Don't think I ever told you that.
I don't think you had. No. That's a good thing, though. I didn't interpret it as a cavernous void of our love.
I wouldn't call it a love song. Again, for the most part, it is
a cavernous void of our love. Dude, write that down. That's a song.
That is a future. That is going to be a future.
Next album, cavernous void of our love.
I know one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's musically, and I think I referenced it in the post from last night, is that, and I tried my best to find a version of this to play for us today, but apparently it does not exist. But the guitar solo that is in the middle at about the 2-minute mark, at one time was a pan flute solo.
Oh gosh, I remember the pan flute solo.
Is there?
Oh, no. When we played it live with her,
I took the solo out because I never liked it. That's why I put a pan flute in there, just kind of experimenting around.
And then
and
Kevin liked it for a while.
We liked it. So for years there was. It seemed like that, but apparently it must have been a much shorter period of time, or she has managed to destroy every existing copy of the pan flute solo. She hated it, and I thought the flute's ridiculousness kind of went with what I thought was the ridiculousness.
It was really ridiculous because it sounded like
it's a great song. You didn't have
a little bit of Jethro Tull in the middle of this nonsense anyway. But yeah, I don't think the album version has, because I could never nail it down a solo I was happy with. So I just completely
no solo. So we went from pan flute solo to guitar solo to no solo. But it is still kind of like this is probably the most prog rock that Storytellers gets, wouldn't you think? Even without the pan flute solo, I mean, there's...
I don't know that it's really prog.
Yeah. It's...
as prog as we get.
I don't know.
There's multiple sections.
I don't like to label that kind of stuff and put it, because everybody has their different idea and perception of what those things are.
What were you thinking musically with the song?
You know what? I think that this is song was originally called Sexy Alien Biker Wizards.
So Doug has this thing where
he can never remember the names of our songs.
If you watch the documentary, you'll know that we challenged Doug to actually name the names of our songs, and he could not do it.
Cannot do it.
But
I know they're all about football. Friday night football, like high school football, not the pro stuff.
He does have names for the songs when he gives them to us,
yeah.
And they are the true nonsense names.
Yeah.
Because I know Kevin's going to have something actually good to go with it, so I just...
But I don't remember what this called.
Sexy is normally in there some way.
Well, yeah, it is.
Sexy...
He's always going for the sexy.
Sexy chocolate wizard balls, and there's usually some form of... There's usually something sexy,
balls.
And there's some form of...
tasty.
And there's some form of sexy, and there's some form of science fiction.
I'm a wizard in spaceships, rock and roll and wrestling kind of guy, so yeah. So
but you rarely put wrestling in any of them.
Sexy alien.
That's because I'm always repping wrestling. So.
But you don't put wrestling words or titles in your...
Sexy alien probably had something to do with this title. Now that you say that sounds familiar. Is that what you originally...
Because I'm thinking I wrote this in Logan long ago because my parents were out of town and my grandparents were still alive at the time, so they needed somebody to kind of watch over my grandparents because my grandpa was having some problems at the time and would only go to the VA, which was in Huntington, but would not come to me. So I was staying with mom and dad, and it's too much of it's just too much to pack up all my gear and take it somewhere and all that. I mean, it's even a chore bringing it over here because I have way too many toys. So all I took with me was my first gen iPad I had at the time, so that's how long ago this was. And I was playing around with GarageBand, I think, and they have the little keyboard on the front. I'm not sure what the newest iPads have, but there's a little keyboard on there. So I played out the progression on that, and I was like, okay, I like this chord progression. That's why there's actually a piano part in it. So.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Somebody's distracted over here, apparently.
Squirrel.
No.
You told me not to squirrel.
Well,
now
I'm just trying to...
Do what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, turn the volume down.
I'm just not as good at it as you are, apparently.
I'm not good at Facebook.
And Doug couldn't figure it out without making a bunch of noise. It's okay.
But then, it went through multiple iterations. But I really love fuzz, almost as much as I love wrestling. But I really love fuzz, so a lot of our songs are very fuzzy instead of being just overdriven or straight up, some sort of distortion. I always go, I think I have like 6 different fuzz pedals right now, but I always push the fuzz on whatever I can. So that kind of gives to the Arcade Fire, and then I was going for more like a Radiohead feel, Radiohead and Wilco in the verses where we have more noise, from some of the more experimental Wilco, noisy and the Radiohead kind of stuff.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know that part, so that we both ended up on Wilco.
Well,
apparently.
We have some overlapping influences. So
I mean, I tend to write very specifically, like this is the story. So it actually this was sort of an experiment and a challenge and an exercise for me, like, okay, to not write so very literally. And then I still end up putting in autobiographical information when it comes to, like, the car accident and
go with what you know, right?
Well, it added to it. And what's funny is that even when I write a song like this, a rare song where I don't even know what the story is as I'm writing it, I go back and I can sort of see a through line to it. I'll get into that in another song later as to how it kind of happens that you can write a song, not know what it's about, and then when it's done, it actually is about something and you realize it's your own self. But yeah, that maybe is another conversation for another time. But the Arcade Fire idea really hit me as soon as I heard the opening. As soon as you move the chorus to the front, that's when I first started noticing the Arcade Fire thing. And then that's what I hear now when I hear the song.
Glorious?
I did not.
I even titled it Glorious Remix.
Well, when you did that, I knew. But just by listening to it, I wouldn't have guessed.
You're right. Yeah.
Any more than I mean, if anybody out there actually got the reference when they first heard the song and go, was that not an inversion of something the professor said in the 26th episode of the 6th season of the Rarely Seen?
Please comment on that
yes.
now. Let us know.
One
I
If
want
you
to see those
knew that.
comments about Futurama.
Matt Growing would have watched
Ray
it
loves
or
it.
listened to it.
Is it growing or graying? I think it's spelled growing, but it's actually pronounced like graying or something along those lines.
The only person that I
Yeah,
can think of that
I don't know.
would possibly
I'm sure somebody on the
pick
interwebs
that
knows and will
would
correct
be,
this.
well, two people, Dave Longley or Ray Locuston. So if the two of them were watching then, or are watching at some point, the one
I
I
don't know
would.
how that's pronounced. I should have checked into that before I said it.
They're
That's
probably the
live,
biggest
man.
Futurama.
We're without a net.
Awards
We're
and
just-
all.
All right. Well, that's all I
Well, okay, so I didn't know it was Jellybone Ghosts plural until like 2 months before we finished the album.
I actually knew this song was called Jellybone Ghosts.
Ghosts.
I think by naming
It's plural.
something with a
I
really
looked down one day and I was looking at the lyrics for a second, and you know, and I went, "What's ghost plural in here? Is that right?" No, it was on the album, like the draft art and stuff. I went, "Oh, there's an S there." And he goes, "Yeah, there's a, it's ghosts." And I went, "It's ghost plural?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, fortunately, ghost and ghosts sound the same
she'd never been singing it
when you're
before.
singing
Oh, well, that's all right.
Jellybone Ghosts
Yeah.
or Jellybone Ghosts." Then
Wait,
it doesn't.
how did you sing it? I'm gonna have to go back and
I'm
isolate your
singing
track.
Jellybone Ghost.
See if there's an S on
Well,
the end.
There's no S.
So what's
There's no
interesting sometimes too.
I am
though,
singing about a singular Jellybone Ghost, and
Oh.
Kevin is apparently writing and singing about a plural Jellybone Ghosts.
Who knew?
until you finalize a song, until it like you put it out there in the world, as we finally started doing after years and years of just recording for our own hobbies and benefit, you end up with multiple versions of songs. When it gets time, like, okay, we got to finalize this. What is it called? Like, there were versions that over the 10 years that this song was in existence, that was Jellybone 2 words, Jellybone 1 word, Jellybone Ghost plural, Jellybone Ghost singular. So there's really, between those different combinations, where it's like 4 or 5 names, like, yeah, we just need to decide what it's called. So
here's an
It's
embarrassing
ghosts.
question. What is it called? Is it Jellybone Ghosts or
Jelly-
Jellybone
Jellybone. It's
Ghosts?
Ghost. Jellybone.
Jellybone.
Jellybone. I think.
Jellybone Ghost or Jellybone?
yes,
Jellybone, one word.
One word. It's one
Right?
word or two.
Jellybone? Jelly.
Like,
Well, I
somebody-
don't know, because
It's two
we
words.
say
It's 2 words.
Jelly.
Two
Okay,
words.
yeah.
it's Jellybone Ghost.
Gotcha.
Because they're gelatinous ghosts that have
Ghosts.
no, form. They're
My
like
bad.
blobs who
Blobs.
can't speak.
Gotcha.
Which, again, I thought was very fitting for the song, because maybe that's why they're singing in the caverns of our souls, that you can't communicate, but maybe you can by how it sounds.
Jesse. Like now we
I'm
got
Deep thoughts with Storytellers.
it's a double mama.
Double mama.
Double mama's watching.
So, unless anybody else has anything else that they can think with Jellybone Ghosts, we can wrap up this very
Wrap
first
up our ramblings.
one. And I mean, if you want to have it as one word, that's fine. If you want to have it as plural, that's fine. If you want to make up your own story to what the song's about, this one will actually accommodate that. That one will be fine too. But if you haven't heard it or haven't heard it in a while, we posted it last night. It's on our Facebook
Doug's
page.
favorite song on the album.
It is,
really is.
If
He
you
said,
saw
yeah.
the documentary, Doug chose this as the favorite track that he has on the whole
I
record.
do think
'Cause
it's
I love
a
those.
really good. If somebody's like, oh, I haven't listened to it or something, you get somebody in the car. It's a really good one to blast in the car and and I think a fun example from the album. So it's a
do
good
that.
one to blast. Go blast
So
it
go
in the
blast
car.
it. It's on our Facebook, and it's streaming on
Everywhere.
that you listen to your music. And thank you for joining us. This is kind of our first experiment with this, so this will give you an idea of what we're going to do over the next 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Each week we're just going to post one of the songs from the album, and next week will be track 2, Kids on the Same Ride. We'll talk the title track next week.
David Poole says it's Jellybone Ghosts.
Jellybone Ghost.
Jellybone Ghosts.
We never tried
Oh.
that combination.
Huh. I kind of like that.
Maybe on the remix, because now don't give Doug an idea, David.
Oh,
now
I'm gonna find a pan flute loop now.
You don't want to know how many times after the first album came out and we thought we were done with a certain set of songs, we would get remixes from this guy.
I honestly did do it just to aggravate Jerry. The songs are done, but
nothing you do aggravates me, Doug.
I do not believe
I have nothing but love and respect for everything that you do. And your interpretation of everything.
My interpretation of everything.
And no, Dave, we are not going to sing an a cappella version of the song. Although, with certain songs, that might be something we can do sometime.
Yeah.
Pull out the guitars and actually play a little bit while we're here.
It would make Doug do some heavy lifting for once.
Jellybone is not one that's probably suited for an acoustic treatment, but
no, there's too much fuzz.
Too much fuzz.
Actually, hold on.
What a fun challenge that would be.
Wait a minute. Let me correct that. There is no such thing as too much fuzz. I'm shaking the table. I'm sorry now. I have to rewind that. There's no such thing as too much fuzz. But I'm not playing Jellybone on an acoustic guitar because it would be fuzz free. And where's the fun in being fuzz free?
Then you would actually hear the lyrics and know how little sense they actually make. So next week we'll talk about a song that actually makes a lot of sense if you read the lyrics. So it will be a whole different feel, a lot less fuzz and a lot more sense in the lyrics. And a title that was obviously meant enough to us that we named our documentary and album after it. So tune in next time. Next Tuesday night, same bat time, same bat channel. Somebody want to hit that finish button?
Oh, that'd be me. I'm close to it.
We have it that far away.
Bye, guys. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks.